Oh, I got to put the comments up. Hey, happy Monday. It is November 10th, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard, and welcome to the Tech Commute. I am Jason, and I am joined by the very lovely, very intelligent, the wonderful Kierra Dotson today. I've been trying to make this happen for a while. You've been on my radar, and I don't even know how we like cross paths online, but we made it, and then we actually got to meet IRL, which I thought was awesome. You have such an energy about you. It was super fun to meet you. So I was very excited we got to connect at Commit Your Code. Shout out Danny Thompson and his wonderful conference down there in Plano. It's not Dallas. Don't say Dallas. If you do not live down there, it is like they do. It is Plano. Get it right. But without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me on here. Super excited. I love y'all's weekly shows. It's amazing. But I am Kierra Dotson, aka the Data Conversationalist. Currently an AI engineer, but I cover all things data and AI. I make a lot of content, videos on this, demystifying complex topics and making it just relatable for the average everyday person to understand, as well as doing, as of now, keynote speaking, regular speaking, lots of podcasts, yeah, whatever it is, I'm there when it comes to making content and to help people with getting into tech, especially with data and AI.
I love it. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. We've got Bree in the chat. You and Bree have a very interesting, kind of a toxic relationship at this point. You guys seem to have bad luck at conferences. I don't know if you two should hang out anymore.
Oh no, that's the homie. So we actually went to school together in UT Austin. She graduated
Awesome.
a couple of years after me, which is funny. We like fell off just from the radar of each other for a while, but then like the past couple of years or so, we just started talking to each other more, and now we're actually able to go to conferences together and like see each other there, which is funny because we live in the same city, but we never meet with each other here. It's always at some
Yeah.
other conference.
Cities are big like that. You know, you can be again in that same sort of orbit as someone and only meet at those types of events. So I get that. Let's take it back a little bit. Let's talk about your start in tech. Where was that first like hello world moment for you where you kind of decided that this was something that you wanted to pursue?
Yes. So this started all the way back in high school, trying to
Mm,
figure out what I'm going to do once I graduate. I didn't have a lot of, college educated folks in my family, but I did have a decent amount of friends because I was in AP classes who did have parents with college degrees.
mm,
I remember my childhood best friend at the time just seeing her mom open up her bank account. I wasn't snooping. I just happened to glance over, and there was a ridiculously large amount in that account that I never thought was possible. I was like, and mind you, it wasn't even a savings account. So I was
yeah.
like, how does one have this casually in their account? But I knew that her father was a petroleum engineer. So from
Mm,
there, I was like, I need to figure out what's going on with engineering. So from there, I did like a Google search of like top paying degrees, and it said computer science. And from there, I was like, oh, so this is just like opening apps for people at the app store, like the old people. Boy, was I for a rude awakening. But that's how I was able to select my major. It was also one of the ones you don't need a master's degree to obtain like an exorbitant salary or like
mm.
graduate salary. So I decided to stick with that, and that's when I went to UT Austin, one of the best computer science schools in the nation, in the world, and it was also a public Texas school. So I was just like, why not? So I got in by grace of being in like the top seven in my high school. So yeah.
Okay, big brain on that one. I see Lawrence coming in too as well. Goat level intelligence. I very much agree there. I almost said disagree. I'm like, wait, what? I totally agree. Future senior DevRel, he's calling it. What do you think about that? What do you think about
That's
that?
amazing. So Lawrence actually DM'd me with I think it was either from OpenAI or Anthropic, like a DevRel role,
Oh
like
yeah.
literally a couple of days ago, and I was like, oh, because I'm only typically a technical role, so
Hmm.
I'm kind of digging it. I mean, I already do a lot of like DevRel related tasks outside
Hmm.
of my work, so I can see how I can seamlessly integrate that or just into that role. So
Yeah.
who knows? That might
Well,
be
it'll
better.
be yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see. I guess where you kind of see your career progressing. How long? So take us back to school now. Where did you kind of decide that you wanted to go with that computer science degree? obviously that's a pretty open-ended degree. You can kind of lean a lot of ways.
Very much so, especially with all the different electives that UT Austin had at the time. So
Hmm.
it was like you can go anywhere from like ethics to like there was like computer what's it called web development. They had so many different electives,
Yeah.
but what I decided to do was I was like, well, I'm getting this degree mainly for the money, but I might as well do something that I enjoy. I don't have to be passionate about it, but I would love to wake up every day and not hate my job. So I tried
That's fair.
different internships throughout college. I had about three of them. First one was actually with a defense contracting company. That's where I learned
Mm.
full stack web dev and also Android app development. That was really cool working in their R&D department. I then moved on to Visa at the time, and that's where I got a hint of what data analytics was like. But I
Mm.
didn't know it was data analytics at the time. I
Okay.
was in our department. They wanted us to basically evaluate how employees were engaging with taking compliance courses so they don't get sued. And then two, all the different learning resources like Udemy, Coursera, Pluralsight, all those that employers tend to offer,
Hmm.
how we were engaging with those to see what
Hmm.
licenses we should use moving forward. So that was the second one, and that was actually my last one, which turned into my full time job. But the one in the midst of those were it was web development,
Okay.
and that was like front end. I
Yeah.
hate. I'm just bad at it. CSS
Really? Okay.
not my jam.
Yeah.
Whoever the CSS warriors are out there, kudos to you. But like the style sheets, I can't. It's like, yeah, I can't. I can't compute. Like it just. My mind just glitches. My brain just glitches. So
I,
it
I,
was.
I actually love that because I think so many people kind of jump into that. Oh, that we're doing design, and you see all that stuff on social media, and it
Yeah.
seems like you tried it, and you're like, nope. So I like that you were like you had that like self awareness and gumption to say at that point like, nope, this is not for me.
Yes. And I'm just happy that I had the, like you said, the gumption and even just the mindset of just trying something different. Because I was
Yeah.
like, there's so many different things. So yeah, that's where I ended up at Visa. That was my last full time or my last internship and first full time job.
Hmm.
Then, which was funny because I got that as a summer internship, and then I actually was able to finesse that into like a part time role during college.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
I don't know of any other. I think I was the first intern to like do that without it being like an actual like hybrid where you have school and like I forgot what the official term is,
Uh
but
huh.
yeah. And then that was my first full time job. I got tired of doing Tableau dashboards because at some point I was like, "What are these? What is Tableau? What is this thing I'm doing? I got my degree like in coding,
Yeah.
so what am I doing?" And that's when I transitioned over to IBM within like less than a year or so after graduating.
Wow, that's quite the trajectory. I love that. Can you talk a little bit about because you mentioned finessing your way into that job while you're still in school? Can you talk about how you did that or approach that?
Yeah, sure. So one, it just came for me. I did really good work during the internship. They had a gigantic leaderboard website that they had spent like 60,000 on
Wow.
with like some PHP developers. PHP was just not really good with the security protocols back then,
Hmm.
so they made me redo it with like Django and like Flask, and I forgot what else back then. And I converted it with no problem, and they were very happy about that. And then that's when I also started to take on more data engineering tasks. And I was one of two technical people in that HR department for that team. So
Wow.
I think that also helped with the influence of convincing my boss to let me come back. And we had a lot to prove as the learning analytics department in HR because data teams are notorious for being seen as cost centers. They're
Mm.
not, which is funny because data, the whole point of it is to get value, derive value from something. But a lot of CEOs and executives see it as, oh, we have to do it just because it's trendy versus like this could actually help us like smoke our competition. So because we did a really good job with getting those quick wins with setting up dashboards for the CEO and things of that nature, my director was able to plead the case to other people as far as why I should stick around, and also there was just a ton of work to do, and I think it was just cheaper for the company to hire me anyways than to get a full time
Yeah.
employee. Uh,
Yeah.
like
That makes sense. I love that and that you took again that initiative to kind of step up and do those things. So How would you explain or sort of define data analytics as to how you work in it? Or like, what is that? I'm trying to think how to articulate the question, but like, explain what that is. Like for the layperson, for maybe like even the web developers that are out there that maybe don't quite fully understand like what that role is and entails.
Sure. So when you talk about analytics, I can break it down from a data analyst role, which is
Yeah.
kind of almost what I was. It was like a hybrid between data engineering and analyst, but in its essence, data analytics is using data, manipulating data to understand and inform yourself on how to make decisions related to whatever goal or problem that you have. Like even for web developers, a lot of times you have to deal with things such as it can be as simple as making sure people are like clicking through your site and making sure their buttons aren't broken. If
Mm,
you have some analytics on the back end to track like what's being broken, click through and all of that, that can help you to understand what buttons to fix, what are the highest priorities for fixing, for improvements on your site, things such as security issues and things you need to strengthen. There's always some type of data related to your role that you can use to help you. It just might not be as at the forefront based off of what we're typically, used to seeing. But data is what helps you to improve in your role, in your department, in the company as a whole.
So, what keeps you interested in that? Like, what is it about that that really kind of excites you? The way you talk about it, like you're very passionate about it. So, what is it about it that keeps you like into it?
But mainly because I think it's a really great field to be in if you get bored easily. Because again, there's always something to solve, always something to improve with your business, with your role, what's ever going on. And I'm the type of person who actually is pretty like customer facing. And I think that's what helped me to stand out too when I go for these roles. I
Mm,
like talking to the different business units and understanding what problems they have. What data do you have? And then let me like really go into the nitty gritty of that to figure out how we can pull all these different things just to tell you and to give you ideas of what to fix. Maybe some of them might even lead to pathways that you never even thought about that actually really affect your bottom line of whatever your business unit is tackling. So
mm,
I think that's really what it is because I get bored so easily, and when I get bored, I burn out. So I think that's really why I like data.
mm.
So many different use cases, and also so many different ways to apply it in so many different industries.
It totally seems like there is, and I think that that's one of those sort of nuanced parts of tech where that is something that isn't industry specific. You know,
Right.
like you said, data's sort of everywhere. So a lot of these skills, I feel like could transfer. Problem solving. You seem like you really have that problem solving skill. What are maybe some other skills that you bring to the table that other people might possess that would qualify them for these types of roles?
Funny enough, a lot of the soft skills are required to succeed in a data role, especially as you climb the ranks.
Hmm.
And especially when we're in a time where education is commoditized in the sense that you can easily go on YouTube or somewhere and learn how to pick up some like SQL skills or whatever. So, one, it's business acumen. I like to really go in
Mm.
and understand the depths of what moves the business, what are the drivers there, what are the top trends and issues and pain points, which are things you pick up from, whatever latest industry magazines, newsletters, articles, things of that nature. The other one is communication. And that was the one that is actually the most underrated skill, being
Mm.
able to talk to other people and employ emotional intelligence to understand what they need and also help them to understand that you are a collaborator versus trying to take over and like power through them to just serve them data or anything like that. Because again, data teams, we tend to be the underdog. We have to prove ourselves. And with that comes us having to go above and beyond just to help people to feel comfortable with us and understand that we are there to be in service of others versus there to just like potentially automate them out their job or something like that. So
Whew.
that one. Then the last one, what else was that? Systems thinking. Systems thinking, critical thinking, those are so important. A lot of, and I say that because you can look at some data, I can look at the same data, and we can both come to different conclusions, but we
Mm.
might also be both correct. And that's the cool thing about it because data is so subjective in that way, which is funny because we're dealing with a bunch of facts, but it's just all about the creativity behind how you think about those facts. So that and oh, my systems thinking. That one was understanding if you manipulate one thing, how does that affect the entire chain? Will this
Mm.
cause something else to blow up? Will it also accelerate something else? So,
Wow, man, I swear I could listen to you talk all day. You're just so articulate. It's amazing. It's so interesting to listen to. Um, so you mentioned like customer facing and again soft skills. And you talk about communication. Where did you sort of work on that? Again, that's not just something that some people are inherently born with, and then understanding like the technical terms and everything. Was that ever something that kind of intimidated you initially getting into some of these situations?
oh yeah, definitely a bit of intimidation. I struggled with a lot of imposter syndrome,
Mm,
especially started really before college, but especially in college, considering the fact that I felt like my peers are much further ahead of me just based off of the background that they had. Like, for instance, I was in class with a peer who had already published their first app on the Apple Store because that was what they had to do in order for their father to get them an iPhone.
wow.
Didn't know what a portal was.
What?
So yeah, you have parents that are like directors of Google and all of that. Like, and mind
Wow.
you, I thought like the cloud was just something that was magically placed there. We're talking literally the cloud, just
Yeah.
because I was exposed to this technology. So the pressure to really prove myself to these types of people with that type of energy, I think I just also, it's not even a think. I know that I have one of the the traits that I have is just the desire to be great, to be an
Mm,
overachiever, to be, I say now, undeniably exceptional. And so that means I have to look and read between the lines to understand and see things that everybody else might not see and use that as my advantage. So there's that.
mm,
And then also, I was very introverted. A lot of times it was shy because of the imposter syndrome. But when you're introverted, you cut off one sense, which is talking, and then the other one, your ears, you start getting
mm.
to listen and try to understand what people are really thinking. So those are the three things or events that really led me to develop those key skills.
Oh, I love that. So, based on the point that you brought up as far as like the introversion, what helped you sort of in that moment where maybe again the talking isn't quite there, the imposter syndrome's really like digging into you, and you might be pulling back a little bit into that introversion. Like, what helped you to get out of that and to move forward in certain situations? Because that can be very paralyzing for some people.
Yes, absolutely. So I have two methods of solving this because I had hit that wall like years ago, and then I had to go in college. In college, it was more so again having something to prove, and then also understanding that I know I'm capable of doing something. It just might take me a little bit longer, and I might be further away from the start of the finish line, but that doesn't mean I can't catch up.
Mm,
And I meant that. I ended up having more internships and accolades under my belt than those people that have, the apps on, the Apple Store and all of that stuff there. It was one of those where for me, you could be, doing better than me right now, but you better hope and pray I don't catch up because once I understand a skill, I don't let up because I understand how to learn and
mm,
also the patterns as I learn something. And that helps me to speed up and go faster and faster because it all built on top of one another. So there's that. And quite honestly, the most important one that I have, you boost your confidence and decrease your imposter syndrome by doing things that you know you're supposed to do, even if they make you uncomfortable in the moment. It's by getting those
mm,
wins. So it could be something as simple as you're supposed to study 20 minutes every day. You don't want to do it, but you know you have to. I can guarantee you, you go 7 days with doing that, you're going to feel great. In fact, you're going to want to increase that to an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, because it feels good to do the things you said they were going to do. It's the same thing with, like people, cleaning up their diet or exercising or something. After a while, you see the results and you want to stay locked into those results. So you keep doing the same thing over and over. In fact, you increase whatever your original goals were because you like a bigger challenge. So again, that's really how that snowball effect works with building that confidence. And once you have confidence, you start to understand more of who you are because you're coming into yourself and also seeing what you're capable of and then also proving that you're capable of certain things. So really, if you want to eliminate that imposter syndrome, just do some of the stuff that you knew you were supposed to do, and then also understand that what's for you will not miss you ever. No matter how off track you might feel, you can always get back on track to go get your blessings.
Wow. Wow, sound bites. I'm like, we're gonna have all these amazing clips, which I will get to when we get this edited. But I'm just like, oh my god, these and everybody in the chat's like, they're there like that. Yep, rocks with the energy, feels that. Where does this work ethic come from? Has this always been something you just like? Where did this mindset for you, as far as like how you approach this, sort of grow?
It's um, it's definitely in me, not on me. But I also come from a
Mm,
long line of women that really are hustlers, have really gone against the grain to just try different things to make just based off of really survival, but also just creativity. I attribute a lot of that to my mom. She has tried and done a lot of different things. She's in nursing now. She has her own nursing academy, but before she tried a
wow.
myriad of different roles. So I admire that about her. And I realized that really rubbed off on me long before I even recognized it. Same thing with my late grandmother, great grandmothers, things like that, and even my aunt, my uncles. The Dotsons are just really impeccable when it comes to just really trying stuff. But besides that, also it goes from just I like really nice things and I know what I have to do to get there. Like it's like again, it's just in me. Like no matter what, even if I'm just somewhere, I automatically pick out the nicest thing, regardless of if I know the price or not. So that's that's another one as well too.
Well, that certainly also makes sense then, but you know what you have to do and the work you have to do to get those things. So I think that's awesome. It's good to have that perspective. You mentioned the imposter syndrome and kind of how you work through that, but I think you also mentioned earlier, as far as like working in a role that maybe you don't love, where the burnout might hit you faster. Have you experienced that at all? And then like, what were some of the signs in you that maybe you saw when you saw it, like the burnout coming?
Oh yeah, unfortunately, I know this all too well of being in a role you
Mm.
don't want. So while a lot of people online know me for data and I spent a huge chunk of my career full time in a DevOps role.
Oh.
And while I was really good at that, I really did not like it. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't my calling. I got really bored. And again, once I get bored, I can tell in the sense of I'm not eager to learn.
Yeah.
I was much better at keeping up with industry practices for data than I was for DevOps. Like you could ask me these same questions in regards to DevOps, and I just be like, I don't know, you know. Also my work ethic when it came to that role wasn't that great either. I would get
Mm.
stuff as I needed to on time, but I wasn't going above and beyond, nor did I even care to.
Yeah.
And that's completely opposite of like who I am as a person, and that's how I knew I was burnt out because
Sure.
average is not it's not synonymous with Kierra. It's not ever supposed to be that way. So as soon as I start feeling that, I know that I need to redirect. And I chose to redirect in one of the toughest times. I was actually on a run during the pandemic, but I had a lot of imposter syndrome. There was an issue with where I had a contract with another company as a data architect, was supposed to join them full time, hopefully even taking over the director's role because he was leaving to take a month long or a year long cruise like over the world.
Wow. Okay.
I had a really the person that was supposed to interview me just really got off to the weirdest start, and I think maybe they had some animosity with me despite me never knowing them. They essentially told me I wasn't a real data architect, I was a data modeler, which was interesting because I was hired in for the role as a data architect, like in their HR system. And that
Okay.
really caught me off guard because I
Yeah.
just wasn't expecting to be approached like that, especially considering I already had like half a year of rapport with these people. So that while I tried to brush it off, it just stuck with me for the
Mm.
longest time. And so I just stayed in my current role. I was like, I'm safe. I don't have to interview anywhere else. I'm not happy, but it's fine, pays the bills, take care of the family, whatever. And it wasn't until recently I decided to say, you know what, let me just go for an AI role. But again, what's for you is not supposed to miss you. I thought I was going to have to interview externally. I actually got a job, another role internally, and it turned out to be better than the AI engineering roles I was looking for at the time. So Yeah.
Wow. Well, it worked out. I guess sometimes too, when you open up opportunities, other ones sort of also can gravitate to that, or maybe again, if you keep your options open. Well, that's fantastic. How did you? How did that affect you as far as like the burnout in that moment, like personally? I mean, obviously, professionally, you felt like you were just checking boxes, but like, how did you internalize that burnout?
Yeah, it definitely shows up physically and outside of work. I know that I was feeling very tired, a lot of brain fog just from feeling like out of place at
Mm-hmm.
work. I know I spent a lot of time doom scrolling as well too,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's it's kind of normal at this point, but the level at which I was doing it was really crazy. I wasn't really putting out any content even for data and AI just because I was just feeling so off center. I just didn't know what was going on. Trying to catch my stride again. I was like, I don't know what's next for me. I don't really even know where I should fit in this ecosystem anymore. It was just a really, really rough time where I kind of felt out of my own body. I didn't really even know kind of who I was. And that's just because I
Mm.
let myself sit in that burnout for so long. And yeah, I don't ever want to get to that place again. So it definitely shows in other ways outside of work when you're not having a good time.
No, I totally agree. I think a lot of people kind of feel that way. So when you sort of hit that bottom, what what was the catalyst to like push you back out, especially with content too? I kind of do want to pivot into the content creation because I think that that's something really big. That and your content's amazing, but like when you sort of hit that rut where you were hitting the creation block, like what was the switch that got you back into it?
Honestly, I would say about a year ago, I guess now like almost a year and a half ago, there were some like reorgs and like moving of people around the organization I was in at
Mm-hmm.
IBM. And it essentially called for managers to pick like the worst person on the team and almost like flag them, not to put them on a pip, but to flag them, and which
Yeah.
was really interesting because all of our team we were very good. Even when we were not highly performant, we're good. I was still hitting on my marks, still accomplishing things, but I was just the low hanging fruit. I was not as performant as all the other people on the team.
Hmm.
So that caused me to get, I was flagged, and then I had to go and get into another group, still doing a lot of cloud DevOps stuff, but it was more so for Kubernetes, which was even worse.
Oh.
Yeah, very good at very very good at it. It just was not my cup of tea. And at
Yeah.
first I was like, no, this is gonna be fine. You get to learn more about manual Kubernetes before you were learning about cloud managed Kubernetes. It's gonna be fine. Things were not fine. I ended up still being very good, was one of the fastest onboarders on the team, but mentally I checked out much faster. And that was really it. I was like, I went from what I thought was like the worst to even worse, even more worse. So I was just like, okay, well, what do you want to do? First, I had to realize like I'm capable. There's never been a time where I haven't done anything I said I was going to do in the grand scheme of things. I have been notorious in proving myself even when in the toughest situations. So I really had to build my self esteem up in that manner and just reflect on who the heck I am. And that's not even me just like lying to myself and cheering myself on. It's more so like, no, look at your track record. Like you're just having a really rough time right now. That doesn't mean you're having a really rough life. And you don't have to have a really rough life. You just have to make that decision to
Hmm.
not have and to get out of this rut. So it was that. And then also when it comes to content, I was just at a time where I was like, I'm really tired of doing the surface level. This is how you get into tech. This is how you get into data and make six figures. It just wasn't me. It was great. I love helping people to get in, but I was noticing there aren't many, like, especially, Black people, Black women that are seniors getting into director
Mm.
of that nature. And while I am more so at the senior level, and not the director level, I aspire to do that. I aspire to be there. So I was just like, what can I do to help people stay in? Because getting in is like the easiest part once you're in. So from there, I started to talk more so about, more technical things. The engagement drops, but at least it's what I like to talk about.
Yeah.
And I wasn't burned out from making these same roadmaps that everybody else is doing. I have them if you need them on my blog, but we're moving past that. And then also, I forget how much content I've made, but I also started trying to tie it into concepts that I like. So earlier this year, I actually made a like fashion or sequel for fashion series where I would take a lot of popular runway shows like Louis Vuitton. I think there was a Vivienne Westwood one as well too, and how those designer teams, how those marketing teams could use data from those fashion shows to create new collections down the line. And that was super fun. It was super creative, and people loved it. So that's when I really decided I have to stay doing stuff that might seem out of the box to everybody else, but feels very, what does it say? What am I trying to say? Very comforting and natural to me.
Yeah.
So
No, that I love that, and Lawrence chimed in here too. Deep of the message, fever the ears never fails. I agree, but I think sometimes we have to think about like the why of the content. Like you're creating content you enjoy, you're creating content for you that you're comfortable, it's fun. I think if more people kept that sort of authentic element to it, which obviously there's certain nuance to that in the statement, where if you're paid to do it, you have to. But if you're just doing it to have fun, like people gravitate to that, which I think that they have. I think again, you do have to sort of ramp back up. You might not have that initial audience, but they'll come, especially if the content's good, which yours is. So. How do you let's talk about the content a little bit too. How do you decide what medium you want to put it in? You write, you do video content, you're posting. Like walk us through a little bit of the workflow of like how content is created for you.
yes, so it all starts with me writing posts, like what I want to create as posts, and then from there I'll try to think about repurposing. Like you said, whether it's in full blown articles like I write on my Substack and even as videos. And I'm still trying to ramp up my thought process behind videos. But initially, I originally started the brand just to be relatable, to help people to have an easier time getting in. It's less daunting that way,
Hmm.
especially for technical roles where you're seeing a bunch of jargon and it makes no sense. So it's discouraging. So if I can make something in a quick post, especially if it gets a lot of engagement, or even if I'm discovering something, because I read a lot, I do a lot of research, and I'm like, oh, this is super cool. Let me just share what I've been learning and reading. If I can get it down into even just a quick tweet from there, and if it gets good engagement, I'm like, more than likely this needs to be a Substack post, especially for any emerging technology or anything that is
Mm.
more so about personal growth. So from there, I'll do a full post and then I'll try to repurpose those into video content. I'm not the best at that, but I've learned to do most of my video content surrounding, maybe it is me giving feedback on or commentary on some of the like latest research articles or things that come out. I really love business strategy and AI strategy, so I like to talk about that, but not more so for like executives. It's actually more so for IC folks, which is really
Mm.
cool. You don't usually see that. So I'll
Mm.
say, hey, directors are failing at X, Y, and Z. Like with MIT, 95% of AI initiatives are failing. Here's how you use this to your advantage as an AI engineer, as a software engineer, to help you rise to the top, and help those executives who are having failed initiatives. So, and I actually think that's really important information because a lot of us tend to only focus more so at the level that we're in. We don't understand how
Mm.
to sit in board meetings, all hands, and all of that, and understand how we can use that to climb the ranks and to even also focus on more important work versus like the minute daily work that we're handed. That's really how you climb and just climb the ranks, especially as you're trying to become more like front facing and really call the shots if you're going for like fellow and heck even manager. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's super funny that you bring that up earlier. I was looking at a LinkedIn post of mine, and it said like the audience was like entry level or something. I was like, well, yeah. I mean, I guess that totally makes sense. That's essentially where I consider myself as far as like a developer. But noticing that, like, that's who is interacting or engaging, or who I guess I'm approaching the most. But maybe that's something again, kind of thinking higher, thinking bigger.
Yes.
Who, as far as like, who would you say in your audience? Because you mentioned, not seeing a lot of representation of people like yourself in those higher levels and wanting to get to that level. Like, who would that be able to help when you get there? Are you hoping that that's going to be kind of inspiring other people? And what can you do with that when you get there?
Yes, so I'm hoping that it inspires other people, but at the same time, I try to strategize my content to where it hits many different levels.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So it's beginner friendly enough to where the beginners can get a grasp of it, but it's more so for men and senior engineers, but
Yeah.
also executives. By the way, if you need somebody, I could also come up because I'm talking about this, and you can also see how good I'd be at leadership based off of how I'm breaking it down for my
Mm,
peers and things of that nature. So, I mean, it's really just hitting for everybody, but I'm really hoping at some point my goal is to become an AI strategist, also, director level, VP level. So just it's just really getting as many eyes on me because the more eyes you have, the more opportunities that can float and gravitate towards you. If that answers the question, I don't
no,
have
absolutely.
one specific person in mind right now
Yeah.
because I'm still trying to figure out like who are my invisible mentors at the level that I'm trying to get
Mm.
to, but especially that look like me. But I'm getting there.
No, I love that answer. Speaking of mentors, who do you sort of look up to? Who do you see as sort of a guide or somebody that you're like, I could see myself doing that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess we're at peers at this point, but Nana, I love Nana
Oh
Doykin.
yeah, yeah,
She's amazing. What the work that she does, how she's spoken at Harvard, MIT, the greats, and just really her thought process is really inspiring. We talk often, but still, like I really admire her and look up to her, which is funny. It's like what is the Spider-Man meme where you're pointing at each
oh
other
yeah,
like
yeah.
you. Lawrence, I really appreciate him as well because he is very. I hate saying the word humble because I don't like the definition of it, but in this, he's very down to earth. I will say that.
Oh yeah, there
Very
you go.
his demeanor is very calming, and I really appreciate that about him as well. So thank you
Yeah.
for watching, Lawrence. Simone, my homegirl
Oh
Bees, I
yep,
really
yep.
she's a go getter as well too. Might not exactly be in the same like lane, and that's the funny thing about my journey. I've come to understand that what I'm doing, I'm supposed to be like a pioneer at. I don't really have
Mm,
someone who's doing exactly what I'm doing. I haven't seen that, and that's okay. I've had to come to terms with that. But I am the type of person that will piece together from different people's journeys and get inspiration from that to figure out, ways to strengthen my strategy and kind of do what I need to do.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. No, I agree with Lawrence too. And pulling little pieces from multiple lanes is such a smart move. But that's the thing, is all of us are pioneers of our own journeys. So really, your journey will always be a little bit nuanced. Like you will always do something a little bit different, whether the path looks similar. So you are doing great. And shout out to Lawrence because whether he'll agree or not, he's definitely one of my mentors, and I consider him a friend, and he's helped me quite a bit. So shout out to Lawrence in the chat there. Let's talk a little bit about the public speaking because I think again this is something that not everybody just progresses to. So
Mhm.
what was your first talk like? What was your first talk? Do you remember it?
Oh my goodness. Yes, I do remember it. So I actually started public speaking this year. And my first talk was in May. It
Oh
was
wow.
actually Data
Okay.
Connect West conference, and that is a women-led conference for data. It was actually over my framework, which is Agent Ops, which is DevOps for AI agents. And that's really the goal of that is to make sure, just like we have the software development lifecycle, we do have an agent development lifecycle, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of companies are just getting AI agents wrong. Like they somehow separate AI agents from software, but it is software. It's just
Yeah.
non-deterministic. So I walk through that whole life cycle and talk about it from a DevOps point of view. And it was actually very well received. I was super scared and nervous. My nose runs whenever I go speak. My throat gets dry,
Oh.
but everybody was so receptive of it, and a lot of people were like confused as to how that was my first talk. I think it went really well. I was very happy because I decided to, I think for me, I was like, the best way I can get over this imposter syndrome and to have a good time is to just make it as me as possible. So I had on my cute little outfit, which is a little bit less traditional than what, the typical tech speaker,
Yeah.
outfit is. I decorated my slides. They're all pretty and girly. And it was a great time. I think it was 45 minutes. And I learned a lot from that. And in many different ways, not just with public speaking, but then also just how to frame what I'm thinking, even the
Hmm.
preparation for that speech as well too, was very interesting as well. Just having to control like my learning to control like how fast I speak because I'm a fast talker. Da, 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 da.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually slowed down so much since then. So that was my first one, and with render being like literally like a few weeks afterwards. So yeah.
Wow. So, okay, and scale wise, how big was like how many attendees were at your first one as opposed to render? And how do you personally prep to talk? I know everybody has a different kind of cadence or steps. I get awkwardly quiet, like I don't want to be around anybody, and I just like go. So for me,
Yes.
it's very different.
That's so interesting. Yes, so I believe in the crowd there were about 30 people when my first one, which
Hmm.
was to be kind of expected. I had at the same time the director of like AI startups at Microsoft at
Hmm.
the time doing the same like a similar session. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But it was also a smaller conference. But to me, that's still a lot of people. Like imagine
Yeah.
being in a room with 30 people listening to you talk. I've never had that before.
Yeah.
So that was great. Also, compared to now, getting used to having 100 people more than that speak, it's really interesting. But I treat them all the same
Hmm.
because the goal is to provide value, bring impact. So whether it's one person, heck, even a person listening and understanding half of my talk, that's great. So yeah, just similar to like I guess celebrities, because that's what it is. I treat myself like I'm a performer, like I'm actually a celebrity. That's
Hmm.
also why I dress up. I want to make sure people are enjoying this. I don't want us to just be, oh, technical jargon, write this stuff down. I want you to have a laugh, a chuckle. Like this should feel very comfy to you. I've got a lot of inspiration from that. From Beyonce, her Cowboy Carter tour. My first time seeing her live, but I went to both shows in Houston, and
Nice.
that was quite the experience. And I actually spent a lot of time thinking about how can I perfect my craft to where I could like tap into like my own Beyonce mode because I want to
Hmm.
be as how can I be as big as her, but in tech and data and AI? Because that's actually my overall goal to just become a global force in data and AI, like as big as Andrew Ng. And Andrew Ng is pretty cool and pretty big.
Yeah.
But that's that. And then as far as my prep, that starts in the morning. I'll go over my slides. I'll sit there and like mirror myself, practice talking to myself in the mirror. I don't eat before a presentation. I don't
Okay.
care if it's like 7 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
just because I don't want my stomach to get weird or like how when you
Yeah.
get nervous, I
Oh
just
yeah.
don't want anything to happen. So there's that. I will go and listen to. I like close myself off right before a talk, maybe like an hour or so. I'll go sit in a quiet room. And funny enough, I put on Future, like the
Oh,
rapper,
okay. Yeah.
tracks um, as well. And it's funny, he's actually my favorite rapper just because of how his work ethic is. He's actually one of like the highest paid actors rappers when he performs as well. I feel like I'm rambling at this point, but
No, you're all
anyways,
right. This is
puts
good.
me in like go mode because when I'm listening to it, it's like yes, like affirmations that I really got this. I'm the greatest. I'm the goat. And then I like to go and chat with people. And when I'm chatting with people, especially anybody I might know in the audience, it helps to
Hmm.
calm me down because I get that familiarity of talking to people. It doesn't feel as if I'm like just randomly here with a bunch of people I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And from there, I just really take a couple of deep breaths. I remember that I am an expert. I know what I know, and I'm right, which is funny, but it is what it is. Like I'm right because sometimes in the past I'll be talking and I'm like, wait, did I say that wrong or am I wrong? And it's like, but no, I'm right. I've like done this stuff before. I've talked to people. I've explained this stuff hundreds of times. None of what I'm talking about is new.
Yeah.
So, and that helps a lot too to just really affirm yourself that you really are a subject matter expert in this. And then even if there is somebody who has more knowledge than you or has something to say later on, that's okay because everybody has their own subjective experience. That's super important. But so yeah, and then yeah, like Lauren said, the chatting, even that I have to keep to a minimum. I just need a small bit just like familiarize myself, and I'm good. But that's my ritual. And then just getting through it, I have to remember a lot to just keep my pace
Mm.
very slow, consistent, make sure I take a lot of breaths. And then also just have as much fun as possible. We're all in there to have, to learn, but let's have a good time. So I like to do jokes and things of that nature. So, yeah.
I think that that's one people forget sometimes, is it is supposed to be fun. And you can really tell the people that understand that, and then the ones that don't. But I'm exactly like Lawrence as well. Like I just complete. It's super weird. And again, everybody that knows me, and Angelo is like, I can't imagine you being quiet. No, I was at a table at Magnolia, and I'm just like, I'm like sitting there, and I'm just like quiet. I just shut down, and I don't look at my slides. I just go, because it's like I'm gonna give. I like turn off until I'm ready, and then I just go, because
Oh,
I already
wow.
know the stuff. It's like I know what I want to say. I know what the slides are like. You're just I'm putting it all out there. So
Mhm.
I trust the process, and so far it's been fine. But I get super nervous. I get so nervous. People don't, again, like they're like, really? It's like, no, I get super nervous. Even before these, I always get a little bit of a flutter, like, oh, I hope it goes well. I hope I don't like trip over my words like an idiot. So it's hard. It's hard being public facing. How do you sort of manage that?
Yeah, it's a great question because I also like there's never been a time where I wasn't at least a teeniest bit nervous,
Well,
even
you
for this one.
mentioned being introverted too, so I'm very curious how you mitigate that.
Yes, which is funny. The intro version just came from me being shy and unsure of
Mm.
myself. More now, I'm definitely an ambivert.
Mm.
Uh, and I'm in a season where I kind of want to be more extroverted. But anywho, yes, mitigating that. Just a lot of breath work and just remembering
Mm.
again that I really am who I say I am. So there's no reason for me to dim myself or dim my light because when I try to do that or shy away from who I am, it just really there's a block that happens there to where
Mm.
maybe you will trip over your words because you're so focused on that. When
Yeah.
in reality, we're all human. People aren't focusing on oh man, she said this word wrong or like said this or just, something weird happened. We all have weird things happen because we're human. So I just really
Sure.
had to understand that. Like, oh, I tripped over my word and now and Jason wants to continue to live stream. Okay, great. I'm gonna say, wow, you suck and just close the laptop. So like it's funny just how those different scenarios come in my head of like what could happen. So there's that, and then just understanding people care more so about the value you can bring them and just even hearing your
Mm-hmm.
story. Imagine, stopping yourself from doing something when there was at least one person that really could have like changed their life from listening to you or just really their own line of thinking. And that's the most important part to me. I really love helping people, regardless of if I know it or not. Just the idea of providing that is really good because I know I've listened to so many YouTube channels, so many podcasts, so many things that have really, even if it was just one sentence, it really just sparked something in me and
Mm-hmm.
completely changed what I had going on for the better. So,
I
yeah.
think you and I agree that our favorite part of a lot of this is the end result being that we help somebody.
Right.
You know, and I think if more people focused on that, I think the world would be a lot better place. That's for damn sure.
Yes.
So, speaking of helping people, I'm curious as to what some steps you would suggest for anybody that's interested in looking more into roles that you're the data side of things. Like, where should people
Mhm.
start just to kind of dip a toe and see if it's something that maybe they are interested in?
Yes, for sure, for data and AI. The first step, I always say a good entry level role will always be your data analyst, especially if you do not have a technical background. And you can do this stuff on the day to day in your current role. You don't even have to just quit your job or go learn something else. Again, there's always some type of data that you're interfacing with every day that can help you to make some decisions. So, the best part of this is going and saying, like data analytics for whatever industry you're in, whatever role it is. ChatGPT is really like, I'm so grateful for ChatGPT, Gemini. We just, for some reason, ChatGPT is like, what is it, the common word everyone uses,
Oh
despite
yeah.
there being other tools.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, ChatGPT asking, hey, like, how can I use data to improve this XYZ process in my role, or in just even in my role? Understanding how data affects your industry is very important, especially because you can use that to drill down on how your role intersects with that business problem that needs to be solved. From there, you can even go and create. Excel is the easiest way for you to do like some type of data analysis work.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
let's say that maybe you're in like the finance industry and you are like some fraud detection analyst or something like that. Maybe you don't do any dashboards, but you are in charge of, detecting the probability or likelihood of a transaction being fraudulent. From there, you just take some transaction data, literally you can put it in an Excel sheet if that doesn't exist, and then look and see like what are the commonalities between typical fraud transactions that have been made? What are the commonalities that show that people are not fraudulent? Simple things like that can help you. Just it's really all just starts with a willingness to learn and think outside the box, and also challenge your own bias on what things might look like. Data surprises you more often than not, and having that open mind really helps you, not only just to shift your own mindset, but also to really make an impact on your role and in your job function.
Yeah. Are you seeing a lot of roles popping up that involve this area of tech?
Like data?
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
what's that
absolutely.
area of tech look like job wise? If people were starting to kind of look into that.
I just say this in the sense, I don't even think it's just like that area. I think that more jobs are becoming data focused because, again,
Hmm.
it's all about competition and you have to find some ways to get insights. So, really making sense is more, and a lot of people might not think of it as data analysis. It might be critical thinking or really doing a lot more knowledge work. But, it really is affecting everything, especially when we're automating tasks. That takes a lot of data work too,
Yeah.
even if it's you're using some like click and drop tool, or maybe there's some like tool that your company bought that's really simple and you don't have to do any setup. All that stuff runs and uses data, and the better you understand how data works within your organization and your role, the better you'll have an understanding of how to use whatever AI tools you're using. I mean, we're seeing the CEO saying, yeah, we're AI first, yeah, you have to use AI for everything, if you can't use AI you're fired, which is stupid, by the way, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense. But that the way you are able to use AI and even know how to use something is by data, using data,
Hmm.
and that all boils down to business acumen. And business acumen is just a bunch of like facts about your industry that you know, or even maybe even opinions that have a wide standing understanding or are almost taken as fact just because of how deeply they're proven and how many people believe that opinion to be true, or like the golden standard for what's
Mm-hmm.
going on.
Wow. Nicely said. Um, Based on our conversation here, and we've got a couple minutes left. I have a few more questions, but you operate yourself at a very high level. You're always going. You are pushing to the top to get to the top there. What sort of tools are like, apps, or like what are some of the things that help you run at such a high level? You mentioned ChatGPT, Gemini. What other maybe productivity tools or anything that kind of keep you organized so that you're able to maintain this momentum?
Yeah, sure. So I use Canva a lot for my content creation. When
Mm,
you're seeing visuals
love
for me,
Canva.
love Canva so bad. They have some AI features I've been testing out, but very good for like getting on the go, using really cute templates, especially in the age where you have to have something that's eye catching for people to pay attention to you with.
Hmm.
I know I mentioned the Chat GPT. I use Gemini a lot for research papers and for breaking down really tough technical terms. Very good for that. Lawrence was actually the one that showed me a prompt on how to break down those research papers. I'll share it again because he gave it to me on Twitter. But even just reading books or anything non-research related, I use that also with helping with outlines. That one, and then also Manus AI. It is
Okay.
Singapore based. but they have really, really good AI agents that'll help you to summarize stuff and also draft outlines. I actually use that for my outlines for all of my talks. Extremely, and I highly recommend that, even with structuring what should be on my slides, because I want my slides to be informative enough to where people will look at them, but not overloaded with words to where they can't hear me. So that one is good too. What else?
Is
Lots of
that
AI.
that one? I think it's that. Is
And
it
then
that one?
exactly.
Okay.
Yes. And then Perplexity is another AI tool that I use just for searching for the top trends in papers and articles
Hmm.
inside of data and AI. Also, I like fashion, so I've done that too when I've tried to bridge the gap between AI and fashion. What else was there? I've actually started to lean more so on Grammarly again for helping with
Okay.
structure my
Yeah.
grammar. I'm not the my I've talked about this. My cognitive functions are somehow declining. I think it's because of how much I use AI and also because I'm not reading as much as I used to
Mm.
outside of AI stuff because AI tends to use the same tech words over and over
Yeah.
again. I've actually been working on strengthening that by reading classical literature and then also fiction and nonfiction books. Highly recommend that because I used to have an extensive vocabulary and now my I just use too many common words to the point where I'm like, this
Yeah.
makes sense. I understand, like most people can understand it, but it's not the exact word I needed.
Sure.
So there's that. I'm planning on downloading a dictionary app on my phone that I use Google a lot for whatever words I'm looking up for, like my classical books. Like right now, I'm
Hmm.
reading a book about courtesans, which is probably not the most tech related word or book. It's not the most like whatever. But anyways, they used to be the it girls. People used to think that they were the ladies of the night, but in reality, it
Okay.
was not that. They were a little
Right.
bit there. It was not that. So it was really cool understanding their culture.
Yeah.
Anyways, and that's been great for increasing my vocabulary and helping me to understand. I do not know as many words as I thought. So I recommend people also pick up a word in a day app too, just to help them with increasing vocabulary, especially in this day and age where critical thinking is on your side as AI slop increases. But yeah, a
No,
lot.
I like that point, and I think it's awesome that you're self aware of that and trying to get ahead of it to sort of slow it down, or improve. I like the word of the day app idea. I'm actually going to do that when we get off this call too, because I used to think I had a pretty good vocabulary, and now I feel like I talk like I'm slow.
Exactly. I
Like, what
feel
is wrong with me right now?
and I didn't realize it until I got around someone who had a really nice vocabulary and prose, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I need to get it together."
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a little intimidating. That's one thing I've always kind of struggled with as far as my imposter syndrome in this industry, where it's like we're in these circles where we're talking to people and they're very eloquent and very articulate and using all sorts of words I've never heard of before. I'm like, cool. All right, I'm out of here. I'm going to go. There's chips over there. I'll see you guys. It is.
right,
It's super intimidating. I think sometimes I have to remind myself like we earned our seats at the table with these people for a reason. So
exactly.
here we are. Oh, we only have like a minute left. I will ask you this last question, and again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I feel like we could definitely do a part two at some point, and we should just hang out. You should just come and stream, and we can talk crap about people's LinkedIn's or something if you want sometime.
Yeah, let's do that. I'd love that.
That would be super fun. Kira, again, this has been great. Anybody that wants to check out the newsletter, head over there. You can connect with Kira on LinkedIn over here. Make sure you say you saw her here and remind her of one amazing thing she said. There was plenty, so I'm sure you have plenty of ones that you can reference. What does success look like to you?
Ooh, great question. So success to me looks like having the freedom to do whatever it is that I want when I want. And a lot of that stems from me having a bunch of like career side quests, kind of like Shaq. I really
Mm,
want to go to culinary art school. I really do want to like have like a oh, there's so many different things like a pottery studio. I want to have a bakery. Like being able to just do
wow.
all those random things and be like, yeah, and go back to data and AI whenever I feel like it. It also just means having peace of mind in the sense of being able to just take care of my loved ones, not even just financially, but also just having the mental and emotional and physical capacity for them. I think that's very important. And then also materialism, just being able to buy whatever I want whenever I want, which is going to require a lot of money, but I'm okay with that. I'm very honest with
Yeah.
myself about that too.
Yeah. That's cool.
I just like dressing up. It's really fun. I'm just a girl, but not really. But anyways, yeah, that's really what that means to me. And then the O, the most important one for me is making sure that I am providing enough value to where it can help people change their lives for the better. And it's not even just for tech. It's just so more so the mindset of anything that you want, you're capable of doing that. You just have to believe in that and honestly understand that it's not easy or it won't be easy, but it will be or sometimes actually it is easy. You just have to follow through. So yeah.
I, I love that. And again, you've got a big heart on you. And I know we've had conversations and about helping other people. Shout out you for your most recent help that I came to with this past weekend, too. You are a fantastic energy, and I love chatting with you, so we'll have to do this again. Um, Everybody else in the audience, hello and thank you for hanging out with us today. This has been really fun. Make sure you head over to torque.community for all our other events. I will be traveling down to Atlanta tomorrow. If anybody's in Atlanta, we're hosting a meetup tomorrow night. You can head to torque.dev/discord and find the link for that if you want to come and hang out. Otherwise, yeah, Rizal, we start at 3 o'clock. It's 4. Come on, buddy.
Hi, Roselle.
Hey, Rizal. We talked about Goose today again, Rizal. I'll send you a message about it. I just also wanted to shout you out, Kierra. Nobody else noticed this, but I saw at the beginning you've been on the floor doing this call for an hour. Like, talk about uncomfortable, but not didn't even bat an eye. Just you just jammed it out. So many great points, great story. Thank you again for being here.
Yes, absolutely. Anything for the Torque guys. By the way, join the Torque community. I am an unofficial brand ambassador. I love their events. They're really amazing. You know, Jason and Taylor just really are good at just strengthening community, helping people out, especially with the heroic efforts did over the weekend with,
Yeah, yeah.
procuring a
Thank you.
laptop for someone who had theirs stolen. Just really great energy, and I also just really enjoy and appreciate what they have going on. The events are cool. They have a lot of cool stuff, in the pipeline. I can't speak on it because that's not it's not my place, but join. They're really good, especially if you're trying to find like-minded people and just find like a safe place to just be yourself in tech. So yeah,
Dang. Checks in the mail, Kira. That was fantastic. Thank you.
absolutely.
That was great. All right. We're out of here. Thank you again, audience. Thank you again, Kira. Um, and remember, everybody, have a great day. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, I'll do that too. There you go.